The 10th year of marriage with my husband, Robert Adams, was a cheat. He brought his affair partner's 2 children to me, saying the children were pitiful and needed a father. My daughter Emily pleaded, but he remained unmoved. I didn't cling on. I took Emily and left. Fearing she might be mistreated, I never remarried. Years later, Emily met a good man. My granddaughter Lily Smith is also very cute. I spent my days taking care of her. Life was peaceful and happy. On the day of my 60th birthday celebration, Emily and David Smith said they were busy with office matters, and Lily Smith had a sudden tutoring class. They'd make up the birthday party/dinner tomorrow. But that evening, I was scrolling through videos and found a local viral video. Inside a hotel's private dining room, Emily's family and Robert Adams were standing together, along with her 2 children. 6 people were gathered, singing happy birthday to the woman who was his affair partner all those years ago. Emily even called her Aunt Victoria. Emily said my 60th birthday celebration had to be a grand one. I told her not to go to too much trouble. She insisted, saying she'd seen all my hard work over the years, so the birthday party/dinner had to be magnificent. My heart felt warm, and I was very touched. These past years, I raised Emily on my own, watching her grow up, get married, and have a child. David Smith is very dutiful and took care of me like his own mother. My granddaughter Lily Smith is also adorable and calls me grandma sweetly. I was happy. The pain of being betrayed by Robert Adams slowly healed over the years. So when Emily suggested having a big birthday party/dinner, I was truly moved. I looked forward to the day of my 60th birthday celebration. When you get older, you like lively occasions. More than anything, you want to have family around you. That's what gives life meaning. So on that day, I got up early, got ready efficiently, took my granddaughter Ly Smith to school. After Emily and David Smith finished the breakfast I'd left on the table, they both went to the office. Emily said she and David Smith would finish their work in the morning, then come home early to host the birthday party/dinner for me. I stayed at home, cleaning the house while waiting for them. But I waited for a long time. The agreed upon time passed, and Emily still hadn't returned. Fearing something had happened to her, I was just about to call her. Emily's phone call came through. Mom, something important came up at the office that I have to handle, and David Smith has something too. It was so sudden. We can't get away, so we might not be able to celebrate your birthday today. Emily's voice was full of guilt. I felt a bit disappointed, but my children's careers are more important, so I tried to calm myself down. Then I told her, it's okay, work is most important. Focus on your jobs. I'll go pick up Lily Smith from school later. Oh, right. Before I could finish, Emily suddenly spoke, cutting me off. Mom, it's your birthday today, don't bother with anything. For Lily Smith, my friend happens to be passing by the school this afternoon and can pick her up and bring her to my office. You just stay home and rest. Thinking about Emily's heavy workload and Lily Smith's young age, I couldn't help but say, why don't I just go pick her up? You're so busy with work, and that little girl is at a mischievous age, she might disturb your work. Hearing me, Emily seemed to get anxious, and her voice got much louder. Oh, it's on my friend's way. Mom, don't worry about it, just stay home and rest. You don't need to handle Lily Smith. I have a meeting in a bit, so I have to go. As soon as she finished speaking, she quickly hung up the phone, not giving me another chance to speak. Hearing the dial tone/end call sound on the other end, I couldn't help but sigh. Emily was so busy with work, she'd gotten quite thin lately. So I went back into the kitchen, planning to make a hearty stew/roast chicken for her and David Smith to help them recover their strength. The hearty stew/roast chicken would take a long time to cook, and I'd already finished the housework. So I sat on the sofa, took out my phone, and planned to rest for a while. As I've gotten older, I enjoy scrolling through videos when I have nothing else to do. I clicked on the video recommendation page and scrolled through several, but nothing caught my eye. Just as I was about to exit, I accidentally clicked on local. With just a glance, I recognized the back of the woman on the cover. It was my daughter Emily Miller. The video had been posted half an hour earlier. I decisively clicked on the video. The scene looked like a hotel's private dining room. Emily stood in front of the table, with David Smith next to her, holding Lily Smith's hand. All 3 had smiles on their faces. Emily Miller slightly turned her head, and the camera panned to the side. Then, I saw Robert Adams. If you asked who I hated most in this life, it would undoubtedly be Robert Adams. We fell in love when we were young, and I thought we would live a life that was peaceful and happy together. Until the 10th year of marriage, his former flame's husband died in a car accident, leaving behind his initial love and her 2 children, who were quite pitiful as a widow and orphans. At first, he secretly helped them behind my back. Later, when I found out, we had a huge fight. His face red with anger, he accused me of being heartless. After that, holding his initial love's 2 children, he handed me the divorce papers. He said, Ethan and Olivia are too young, they can't be without a father. So he wanted to divorce me and be with his initial love, to be the father to these 2 children. When he said this, our daughter Emily Adams clung to his leg, sobbing uncontrollably, crying and begging him not to leave. But Robert Adams turned and walked off. I so decisively. I didn't fight it too much. I took most of his assets and left with Emily. I changed Emily's last name to mine, Miller, calling her Emily Miller. Fearing Emily Miller might be mistreated by a stepfather, I never remarried. I focused solely on taking care of her, watching her grow up bit by bit, go to college, fall in love, and get married, and then have the adorable Lily Smith. Throughout this time, Robert Adams never appeared. Occasionally, I heard that he and his initial love didn't have any more children and raised her 2 children as his own, working tirelessly. Emily Miller once told me she hated Robert Adams just as much as I did. I thought, having memories from the time of the divorce, she would remember the pain in my heart and avoid them like the plague. But I never expected them to still be in contact privately. Not only that, I saw Emily Miller and Robert Adams standing together in the video. They were talking quietly, without a trace of hatred. They even led the singing of Happy Birthday. David Smith and Lily Smith clapped along, and their 2 children, now grown, also sang Happy Birthday with them. And the woman surrounded by them was none other than Robert Adams's initial love, Victoria Campbell. She was still radiant, wearing a beautiful dress, living like a princess, the center of attention. She and I have the same birthday. What's even more ridiculous is, Emily Miller, the daughter I cherished more than life itself, after singing Happy Birthday, walked up to Victoria Campbell and embraced her, and called her, Aunt Victoria. I dropped my phone on the floor, the video kept playing on repeat. My chest ached, but mostly I was in disbelief, desperately trying to find a reason for it. Emily, the daughter who depended on each other with me, had witnessed her father's heartlessness and seen how Victoria Campbell pretended to be an innocent white lotus, saying sorry while knowingly breaking up a family and moving in and taking over, destroying our complete family. So how could she possibly call that woman Mom? I couldn't believe it. I sat on the sofa for a long time until I smelled the awful burning smell from the kitchen. The broth from the hearty stew/roast chicken had boiled dry. I quickly turned off the stove. In my agitated state, I reached out and touched the pot directly, burning my finger badly. I was about to treat the burn. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, I saw a delivery person holding a cake. That cake was the one I had ordered myself. A small one. When you get older, you tend to become sentimental. So after I hung up with Emily Miller, I ordered a small cake online. A celebration by myself was still a celebration. I placed the cake on the coffee table and put a few candles on it. I clasped my hands together and closed my eyes to make a wish. I had already decided on my wishes earlier. I wished for my precious Emily to have a peaceful and happy life, for David Smith to always love my daughter, and for my sweet Lily Smith to be healthy and intelligent. These were the wishes I had intended to make. But now, as soon as I closed my eyes, all I saw was Emily Miller lying about working late, then turning around and taking David Smith and Lily Smith to celebrate Victoria Campbell's 60th birthday celebration. In the video, Victoria Campbell was surrounded by people. The birthday party was so lively, just like a family gathering. Unlike me now, all alone and desolate, like a clown, like a joke. A piece of my flesh and blood had turned into a sharp knife stabbing me. It was too painful. When you get old, it's easy to get sentimental, and the tears just flow. Wiping away my tears, I made a wish again, a new one. I hope, for the rest of my days, I live happily and joyfully. That's right. For so many years, my wishes were always for my children, never for myself. But now, thinking about it, it truly wasn't worth it. I ate a couple of bites of the cake. It was too rich and didn't taste good at all. I checked the time again. By now, it was already 11 o'clock at night. Usually by this time, I would have finished all the housework at home, tucked Lily Smith in, and gone to bed. But I couldn't sleep tonight. The next moment, there was movement at the front door. Emily Miller tiptoed in, but as she passed the entrance, she spotted me sitting in the living room. She froze for a second, looking flustered. David Smith and Lily Smith followed behind her. The two of them were still chattering about today's birthday party/dinner until they saw me and fell silent simultaneously. Lily Smith even pretended nothing had happened. Blinking her innocent big eyes, she reached out to me and said she missed Grandma and wanted a hug. Looking at Lily Smith rushing towards me, I didn't pick her up affectionately like I used to. From the moment this child was born, I poured all my effort into taking care of her, just like I did with Emily Miller. David Smith had no parents, and they were both busy with work. Expenses are high in this metropolis. That's why I always took care of Lily Smith, so Emily and David Smith could focus on their jobs without worrying about childcare. But even she, so small, betrayed me just like her mother. Looking at Emily Miller walking towards me, she still seemed to want to pretend nothing happened, feigning a stretch and rubbing her shoulder, saying work today was incredibly busy, but tomorrow they would celebrate my birthday in style. Her eyes landed on the small cake on the coffee table, and she froze. Mom, you bought a cake yourself? Perhaps it was because this cake was too small, or perhaps the one they celebrated Victoria Campbell's birthday with today was too large. The guilt in her eyes deepened. I felt there was no point in probing, so I asked her directly, Emily Miller, where were you today? She paused, her gaze fixed on my face, as I desperately searching for something. In the end, she chose to play dumb. Mom, what are you talking about? I was at the office today. After she spoke, she glanced at David Smith and Lily Smith. The former quickly nodded, that's right, Mom. I was especially busy with work today, my back and neck have been aching all day. As for the latter, she mimicked her father, shaking her head like a rattling drum. Grandma, we didn't go eat cake today, we didn't. A child's logic is never very tight. The more she talked, the more she gave away. Emily Miller didn't even have time to cover her mouth. She could only give me an awkward smile, her eyes darting around, and she started fabricating a lie. Mom, don't misunderstand. Lily Smith couldn't sit still at my office and was being fussy, so I just bought her a small cake. Hearing this clumsy lie, I felt deeply disappointed. So I took out my phone, found that video, and threw it directly in front of her. She froze, opening her mouth as if to explain something. But finally, she sighed and slumped down next to me, with a feeling of giving up. Oh, Mom. It's been so many years. I know you hate Dad, but I have a blood relationship with him. For your sake, I've rarely seen him all these years. Haven't I done enough? You're already this old now, what grudges can't you let go of? Even if you can't, don't drag me into it. How many times have you had a birthday over the years that I wasn't there with you? Aunt Victoria has the same birthday as you. Although she doesn't say it, she hopes we can be one big family. So I thought, since we live together anyway, what difference does it make which day we celebrate? I'll celebrate hers first, and then make it up to you tomorrow, isn't that fine? Mom, you're already so old, can you stop throwing tantrums? David Smith and I are already exhausted from work every day. When I'm with Dad, I can relax a bit. But look at you now, can't you at least think about me for a moment? Hearing Emily's complaining words, my heart, which was already cold, grew even colder. So I asked her, are you blaming me for stopping you from being reunited with your father? I looked at Emily Miller. She didn't resemble Robert Adams at all, she looked more like me. That's why, at the time of the divorce, Robert Adams gave all his paternal love to Victoria Campbell's two children, especially the daughter, Olivia Campbell. The first time I saw her, she was only 6, but the expression in her eyes and brows was a perfect match for Victoria Campbell. That's why Robert Adams doted on her the most. Back then, Emily Miller cried hysterically, curling up in my arms, asking me over and over, Mommy, why doesn't Daddy want me? Why is he going to be someone else's father? Doesn't he love me anymore? At that moment, watching her cry, I felt like my heart was breaking. It was so sad that the child I carried for 10 months and gave birth to had such an irresponsible father. But looking at it now, all of it was just a joke. Emily Miller, hearing my words, seemed not to notice the change in my tone and started acting spoiled as usual. Mommy, I didn't mean it like that. But think about it, Dad is old now. No matter what, half of his blood flows in my veins. No matter how much hatred there was, it's been so many years, shouldn't it fade away by now? And Aunt Victoria, no, Aunt Victoria, she's very nice. When she took Dad, it was just because she was worried Ethan and Olivia wouldn't have a father. But she told me sorry herself later, and she even buys me presents and treats me like her own daughter. Even if there's a lot of resentment, you're so old now, why hold on to those old petty things? Listening to Emily's complaints, I just found it laughable. The father who abandoned her without a second thought, the one she cried out for night after night, clinging to me, asking over and over why Daddy didn't want her. And Victoria Campbell, who knowingly broke up a family, just because she bought a gift. Emily Miller can forget everything that happened? So I directly slapped her hand away. Emily Miller, so in your opinion, my not forgiving Robert Adams and Victoria Campbell means I'm being unreasonable? Emily nodded, looking like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Of course. I wasn't very old back then either. I've forgotten any hatred. Now, when I close my eyes, all I can remember are the moments Dad was good to me when I was little, how happy we were. So, Mom, I hope you can forget too. We can be a family again, just like before. Aunt Victoria is nice. Maybe you two could even be like sis. Ah. Before she could finish, I slapped her across the face. She screamed, then quickly stood up, covering her face and yelling at me, Mom, why are you hitting me out of nowhere? With a temper like yours, it's no wonder Dad preferred gentle and quiet Aunt Victoria. After saying that, she ran crying into the room. David Smith and Lily Smith quickly followed, rushing to comfort her. The door wasn't closed, and I could vaguely hear them talking. She's old and not thinking straight, holds on to little things forever, grumpy old woman, so annoying, and many other things. These were the words spoken by the daughter I had loved for half my life. In that moment, my heart truly died. So I stood up, went back to my room, packed my suitcase, and left the neighborhood group chat on my phone. Emily and David Smith had worked hard for years, but housing prices in Metropolis were just too high. Even now, they still had a monthly mortgage to pay. I felt for them, supplementing them with my retirement fund every month and covering their monthly mortgage payment, as well as utilities and groceries, and even Lily's tutoring classes. I was paying for all of it. Now that I've chosen to leave, I naturally won't be paying for these things anymore. As for whether they can afford it without my money, that's no longer my concern. Besides that, I had another property that I hadn't told anyone about, including Emily Miller. Originally, it was to protect myself from my son-in-law, fearing he might change like Robert did, so the property was in my name, with the thought of transferring the property to my daughter after I'm gone. Now, it seems that's unnecessary. That house will become my refuge in the future. Receiving a generous monthly pension, I can live quite well on my own. When I left the room, Emily Miller's crying hadn't stopped, and the cake on the coffee table was still there. Everything felt so messy. So I dragged my suitcase and left without any hesitation. By the time I settled in, it was already 3 in the morning. After showering, I lay in bed. I opened my phone and saw not a single missed call or message. After all, she was the daughter I had raised for over 20 years. In the end, my heart still ached a little. But maybe a little pain is good. It will keep me from missing her, from trying to convince myself to go back. I canceled the alarm I set for every morning. Then I turned off the light, pulled up the covers, cleared all the distracting thoughts from my mind, and closed my eyes to sleep. I didn't sleep well that night. My mind kept replaying scenes from the past with Emily Miller. Back then, Robert Adams insisted on divorcing me. Although I took most of his assets, Emily was ultimately too young and suffered severe psychological trauma because of this, even unable to attend school for a time. There was nothing I could do but temporarily quit my job and stay by her side every day. She never slept soundly. She would have nightmares in the middle of the night, crying and begging Mommy and Daddy not to leave her. I would hold her, singing the lullabies I used to sing to her to help her sleep, sitting by her side all night. She would sleep soundly all night, while I would ache all over, my arms especially stiff and sore for hours. Back then, when Emily Miller saw I was uncomfortable, she would hold my hand tightly. Then she would start massaging my arm. Massaging and saying, Mommy, I'll rub it for you, and it won't hurt anymore. She was so well behaved back then. I let out a long breath, opened my eyes, and picked up my phone to check the time. Although I had turned off the alarm. But after so many years of habit, my internal body clock woke me up at the usual time. Normally, I would go to the kitchen first to prepare breakfast. Then I'd wake up Lily Smith. She was young and would always dawdle in bed for a long time. I'd coax and hug her, help her get ready, tie her hair into cute little pigtails, and then let her eat breakfast. After she finished eating, I would take her to kindergarten. Then I'd return home. By then, Emily Miller and David Smith would have finished breakfast and be on their way to work. I would then start clearing the dishes and cleaning the house. In short, I was busy all day long, revolving around this large family, with almost no time for myself. Now, it's different. After I got up, I only needed to make breakfast for myself. After eating, I would go downstairs to the neighborhood for a walk, stretching my muscles. Life was comfortable and carefree. However, before I even finished my walk and got back, Emily Miller's phone call came through. The first time she called, I didn't answer. She called again, a second time, a third. It wasn't until the fifth call that I accidentally fumbled and answered it. I didn't put it on speaker, but Emily Miller's voice on the other end was still startlingly loud. "Mom, where did you run off to all night? How old are you? You're not a teenager, running away from home at the drop of a hat. You're not taking care of Lily Smith either, she's going to be late for school. You didn't make breakfast, do you expect us to go to work hungry? Don't you know I have a really important meeting I can't afford to miss?" Each word was a question, as if taking care of them was my responsibility. I didn't speak. But Emily Miller on the other end of the phone just kept talking. "All I asked you to do was help with the child, cook, and do some housework. You're living comfortably at home while David Smith and I work ourselves to the bone for this family. Now you just disappear without a word. Don't you think you're going too far?" Going too far? I couldn't help but give a bitter laugh. This is the child I'm related to by blood. I dedicated my entire life to her. And she, it seems, never saw my hard work, thinking it was all just expected. If this were yesterday, perhaps I would still feel sad, feel some reluctance about the years we depended on each other. But from this moment on, I am truly disappointed in her. Emily Miller, although I lived in your home, your monthly payments and all expenses were entirely covered by my money. I worked tirelessly, taking care of this home. If you think that was living comfortably, then you can do it all yourself from now on. As for me, since you don't like me as your mother, I don't want you as my daughter anymore either." After saying that, I hung up the phone directly and ignored her. But I was still affected by her words, so I went back upstairs, changed my clothes, and decided to go to the mall. For years, I had revolved around Emily Miller and her husband and her daughter. I rarely went to the mall or bought clothes for myself. Now that all those burdens were cast aside, my savings and monthly pension were enough for me to live well. Buying pretty clothes, nice bags, and jewelry, becoming a stylish and free old lady, why not? But I never expected that on one of the rare occasions, I thoroughly enjoyed shopping. I would run into Robert Adams at the mall. He and Victoria Campbell were walking side by side. They walked into a clothing store and came face to face with me. Robert Adams saw me, and his eyes flickered away. Victoria Campbell, on the other hand, walked up to me with a smile playing on her lips and a smug look on her face. Just like the first time I met her, she was still that annoying. "Eleanor, you're here to buy clothes too?" She did not attempt to hide her exaggerated smile, her gaze scanning me up and down. Then she shook her head, speaking in a tone as if she were concerned for my well-being. "Look at you, you're home every day, taking care of Lily Smith and doing housework. Even if you buy this nice dress, will you have time to wear it? Or maybe you've taken a liking to some old man, suitor, lately and plan to dress up nicely to start something?" Human nature is always drawn to gossip. She spoke loudly enough that many other customers in the store couldn't help but look over. As for this woman, who could now be called the old mistress, I didn't hold back either. As more and more eyes gathered, I exclaimed directly, "How could I compare to you? The year your husband died, you immediately ran into my husband's arms with your 2 children. With skills like yours, I couldn't learn them even after all these years." The people present had lived through many years and had seen a lot, so some things didn't need to be spelled out. They could grasp the deeper meaning. A customer who had just entered the store exclaimed directly, "Oh, so that's the old mistress." Hearing this, Victoria Campbell's face turned red with anger. Robert Adams immediately stepped forward, opening his mouth to scold me. "Eleanor, don't go too far." I smiled. Turning my head to the customer, I pointed at Robert Adams. "See? This is the man she snatched away back then. Saying someone else's children didn't have a dad, he decisively abandoned his daughter and rushed to be a father to others. The children still don't have his last name, and he doesn't care one bit. Isn't that just great? Her 2 children still have the last name Campbell to this day, and they only refer to Robert Adams as uncle." And that point was a pain Robert Adams could never get over. Now that I had laid it all out in the open, his face turned even darker, but since everything I said was true, he could only look at me indignantly. The crowd's laughter grew louder. They were all saying he was a complete fool. Victoria Campbell was also furious. Unable to argue with me, she was about to drag Robert Adams away. But then, as luck would have it, just at that moment, which happened to be rush hour, Emily Miller appeared at the mall and bumped right into Victoria Campbell. "Aunt Victoria, what's wrong?" Seeing her look upset, Emily Miller immediately asked anxiously. Victoria Campbell, who had just been livid, straightened up instantly when she saw Emily Miller standing protectively beside her. Then she turned to me and said, "Your mother is still angry with me. It's my fault, I shouldn't have let you come celebrate my birthday." As she spoke, Victoria Campbell lowered her head, looking utterly wronged. Emily Miller looked up at me. Perhaps still holding on to the morning's anger, she didn't hesitate to take Victoria Campbell's hand, then walked purposefully towards me and started scolding, "Mom, do you have to keep throwing tantrums? Look at Aunt Victoria, she's so gentle and kind. You're always having outbursts, any man would know who to choose. What a wonderful daughter I've raised." Her words were knives aimed straight at my heart. So I directly raised my hand and slapped her hard. A piece of my flesh and blood should never have become a sharp knife stabbing me. It was simply too ironic. "Mom, you hit me again?" She covered her face, looking completely shocked. I looked at her with cold eyes. My heart, which might have ached a little before, now slowly turned to anger, then little by little to calm, the ultimate composure after utter disappointment. It made Emily Miller in front of me seem utterly foreign. This strange child is not my daughter. I don't want her. So I directly reached out and gave her a push, sending her towards Victoria Campbell and Robert Adams. "Since you prefer them, you can call them Mom and Dad from now on. I don't have the good fortune, and I no longer want to be your mother." She seemed to be so angry that she laughed. She directly reached out and hooked onto Victoria Campbell's arm. As if to deliberately provoke me, she said loudly, "Fine, if you don't want to be my mom, then don't be. I don't want an emotionally unstable mother like you anyway. Aunt Victoria is so wonderful, I'm going to their home for dinner today. We'll be a happy family, unlike you, always dwelling on old, petty things and complaining all the time." Her movements were too large, causing her ID card/driver's license, which was in her pocket, to fall onto the ground. Hearing the sound, I habitually looked down. The ID card/driver's license was face down. The photo looked recently taken, and in the name field, it said Emily Adams. So, the daughter I held closest to my heart had secretly, long ago, and behind my back, changed her last name back to Adams. Emily Adams also noticed my gaze and was feeling guilty. Touching her nose, she explained, "It's just a last name, isn't it? Since ancient times, hasn't it always been traditional to take the father's last name? And Dad doesn't have any children with his last name on his side. You're a woman, so you might not mind, but you can't let Dad's family line die out, can you? Oh, it's just a last name, do you need to be so petty about it?" Emily Adams got more and more agitated as she spoke. Even though I hadn't said a word, she looked impatient. I stared at that name for a long time. Before, she had said herself that she didn't want her father. She said we depended on each other, that we were the only family we had, so she wanted to take my last name, Miller, and be called Emily Miller. Now, she is Emily Adams. This meant that the last bit of connection between us was gone. I waved my hand at her, my voice calm, "It's fine. You can have whatever last name you want. It has nothing to do with me." After all, I had truly decided I didn't want this daughter anymore. On the way back, I blocked all of Emily Adams's contact information, completely cutting off all ties. I looked at my savings and then at the monthly pension that had just arrived. I decisively found a nice small tour group online, packed my suitcase, and went traveling. For years, my focus had been entirely on Emily Adams. I had never seen the great landscapes and rivers. She used to say that when she grew up, when she graduated, when she found a job, when she got married, when she had children, when the children grew up, she would take me traveling. But I waited again and again, year after year, and the day she would take me traveling never came. Fortunately, I can see the great landscapes and rivers all by myself now. I saw the mountains, then went to see the sea, and had pleasant conversations with people in the same small group. I'll call her Susan. Susan was like me, having dedicated her life to her family. Her biggest wish was for her husband and children to take her out to see places, but this simple wish was met with scolding. They said Susan was being unreasonable. "When you get old, you should stay home obediently and take care of the children, not think about running around outside all day. It's shameful at your age." So she was heartbroken, took her savings from over the years, blocked everyone in her family, and went on a spontaneous trip. We hit it off, having similar experiences. So we had a lot of fun throughout the trip. We even exchanged contact information before parting ways, agreeing on a time for our next trip. However, with happiness comes trouble. In that small group, there was an old man, Suitor, who was 1 year older than I. His wife had passed away from illness years ago, and his children had grown up one after another. He had several grandchildren and lived a cheerful life, but he said it was always lonely without a woman in the home. Knowing I had divorced years ago, his eyes lit up. He said he was willing to settle and live together for companionship with me. I wasn't willing, and I didn't plan to engage with him, but he ended up following me to my door, dragging my suitcase home. Before I had even unpacked, I saw him standing at my door holding a large bouquet of red roses. Eleanor, look at us. We're about the same age, you're divorced, and I don't have a wife. How about we live together for companionship? I like you quite a bit. I'll give you all my savings. You won't need to do much, my children will take care of the grandchildren. You just need to take care of me, do my laundry and cooking, go for walks with me sometimes, and help with the kids when my children are too busy. It'll be very easy. Hearing his words, I took a deep breath. If I were 20 years younger, I would have grabbed the mop and swung it at his head. But now I'm older, and I was afraid I'd break my back before I even lifted the mop. So I called security directly and had them escort him away. Eleanor, why are you being so heartless? Don't you like me? Even though I'm over 60, I'm still a handsome old man. You'd be proud to be seen with me. You haven't had a partner for so many years, aren't you lonely? As the security guard escorted him away, he struggled and spoke. I finally couldn't stand it anymore. I lifted the bag of trash I was holding and threw it at him. The commotion was so loud that Emily Adams, who had just walked into the neighborhood, spotted me right away. Mom, what are you doing here? She quickly walked towards me. I had been traveling for 3 months. Feeling relaxed and happy, I had even gained a few pounds. Unlike her, who looked incredibly worn out and had lost a lot of weight. I didn't speak. She walked up to me, pointed at the struggle. Old man, suitor, nearby, and seemed to realize something. She immediately pointed at me. Mom, how old are you? You're trying to find a partner? Have you no shame? Her eyes were full of condemnation, looking furious. Then she started hitting the old man, suitor, with her bag, telling him to get lost. As she hit him, she also yelled, Mom, are you out of your mind? At your age, if an old man is interested in you, he's probably after your money, and you're foolishly falling for it. After driving away, the old man, suitor, looked at me and pointed to the neighborhood behind me. What? You wouldn't answer my calls for months, rented a place here by yourself, and you're living quite the comfortable life, huh? She seemed to have thought of something and was very unhappy. She continued, you're living comfortably, acting like you've washed your hands of everything and don't care. Do you know I've been at home by myself, trying to balance work and taking care of Lily Smith? I'm so busy, and all you do is cause trouble. You don't help with Lily Smith, you don't do housework, you just run off to enjoy yourself, and now you're getting involved with some other old man. You're a wonderful mother, aren't you? The sarcasm in her words was very obvious. I looked at her, my eyes cold. I told you the last time we met, since you prefer Victoria Campbell, go be her daughter from now on. As for me, I don't have the fortune to be your mother, and I don't want to be your mother anymore. And I have no obligation to deal with the mess in your home, understand? Hearing my words, she seemed to finally come to her senses, realizing I was serious. But she still couldn't help but scold. What do you mean you won't be my mom? We're related by blood. I came out of your belly, of course, I'm your daughter. Just come home soon. There's a whole mess of things at home. Before, you were paying the monthly payments, and all the utilities and groceries, and stuff. You suddenly disappeared without a trace. Do you know that you left David Smith and me completely helpless? We don't make much money, and we have a child to raise. We haven't saved a single cent these past few months, and it's all your fault. Hearing her scolding words, I slapped her again. Get out. Having lost all hope, I didn't want to hear her talk anymore. I turned and walked away. Covering her slapped face, she stamped her foot where she stood. Mom, Eleanor, do you have to be like this every single day? All I said was the truth, and you hit me. It serves you right that Dad didn't want you back then. That sentence made me stop in my tracks instantly. I turned back around. She looked at me, and thinking I was about to relent, she raised her eyebrows and gave me a slight smile. I took the other bag of trash I hadn't thrown away yet and threw it directly at her head. Emily Adams, when Robert Adams wanted to divorce me, he was blind, he was a jerk. Between him and me, there was just that marriage certificate. Once divorced, we were nothing to each other. But you're different. You're related to him by blood, yet he could still abandon you for children he had no blood relation to. Honestly, you know who the real clown is here. Perhaps before, I never imagined there would be a day when a piece of my flesh and blood and I would stab each other. But if we're going to stab, then let's stab. A piece of flesh that fell off my body is just like rotten meat, you have to cut it out for things to get better. No one would cling to rotten meat, because it's not worth it. Emily Adams is not worth it. I turned and walked away again. Her face was red with anger. Just as she was about to follow and say something, her phone rang suddenly. She answered it and quickly let out an exclamation, "What? The home is on fire?" Immediately after, she rushed back. And the woman who had come with her also ran outwards, running and yelling, "Ms. Adams, are you still looking at houses Toda?" Why? David Smith's parents passed away early, so ever since he married Emily Adams and they had a child, I have moved in with them, taking care of the child and also taking care of their lives. So I lived in that neighborhood for many years and made quite a few friends. Especially Carol, she was the biggest gossip in the neighborhood. Whenever anything new happened in the neighborhood, she was always the first to know and would share it with us older ladies. Like this time, when Emily Adams's home caught fire, within half an hour, Carol's video call came through. Our relationship had always been quite good. Even after I moved out, she often checked in, telling me not to hesitate to ask if I needed help, so I wouldn't ignore her video calls. As soon as I answered, I saw her looking excited, with the video aimed at the window of Emily Adams's home. "Eleanor, your wretched daughter is having some bad luck." She chuckled and then started telling me everything that had happened over the past few months. Back then, I joined a tour group and went traveling. Emily Adams couldn't find me, and had also been slapped by me several times. Holding on to her anger, she kept in constant contact with Victoria Campbell's side. Victoria Campbell's children weren't married yet. Ethan Campbell is a slacker, he didn't like studying before and doesn't like working now, just loafing around at home all day. As for Olivia Campbell, she also doesn't want to work and spends all her time thinking about marrying a rich man. Victoria Campbell saw that Emily Adams had bought a large house. Although they were still paying the monthly mortgage, their family's financial situation was quite good. So she sent her 2 children to Emily Adams. They claimed that since they were family, they should spend more time together. Her 2 children were quite brazen. They would come to Emily Adams's home every other day, always arriving empty-handed and leaving with a pile of things. Ethan Campbell had even invited a bunch of shady friends over to his place for a party before, making a complete mess. David Smith was very angry. After arguing with Emily Adams, Ethan Campbell still did as he pleased. This time, he secretly brought people over again. They ended up getting drunk, and one person was lying on the sofa smoking, with half a bottle of liquor next to them. Someone kicked it over. The cigarette ash ignited the sofa fabric, and combined with the liquor on the floor, it set the whole house on fire. David Smith had just gotten back home when he saw thick smoke billowing from their window. Ethan Campbell managed to run downstairs with difficulty. Seeing David Smith, who had just gotten off work, he immediately started swearing, saying their house was bad, that it almost killed him, and demanding that David Smith compensate him. David Smith was furious and started fighting him on the spot. A crowd of people tried to break them up, but couldn't. When Emily Adams rushed back, Ethan Campbell and David Smith suddenly stopped fighting. Both of them turned their anger onto Emily Adams and cursed her out mercilessly. In short, after this whole spectacle ended, the house was naturally uninhabitable for a while. Emily Adams originally wanted to stay at Robert Adams's home for a while, but they just flat out said there was no room and told them to stay in a hotel, showing absolutely no consideration. A crowd of people sat downstairs in the neighborhood, cracking seeds and watching the show. Carol pointed the camera directly at them, giving me a live broadcast of the scene. Seeing it all, Carol said to me, "Karma catches up to bad people. Don't be soft-hearted. There's no need to feel sorry for a daughter like that." I nodded. I truly didn't feel sorry for her at all. After all, I had been utterly disappointed. Watching them continue to argue and carry on in the video, I just found it somewhat pathetic. Family ties, at this moment, became incredibly ironic. In the end, Emily Adams won this round. She took her family and moved in, using it to prove her decision was right. But she didn't know that this very decision would completely ruin her. As for me, after that video call with Carol, I didn't pay much attention to Emily Adams's affairs anymore. I had recently found a new hobby: pottery studio, making all sorts of cute little things at the studio. It was very relaxing. I went for several days in a row. And just by chance, next to the pottery studio was a hotel. As I left with my fired ceramics, walking out of the pottery studio, I happened to see Emily Adams right outside the hotel entrance. And standing in front of them were David Smith and Olivia Campbell, looking disheveled. David Smith, we've been married for 7 years, and I even gave you a lovely daughter. How could you carry on with Olivia Campbell behind my back? She was shouting hoarsely. Lily Smith was being held by her, and she looked a bit scared. Olivia Campbell's clothes weren't even properly adjusted. She had dated many boyfriends over the years and was very bold in her ways. Even with a crowd of people staring at her, she showed no sign of embarrassment whatsoever. She even leaned directly into David Smith's arms in front of everyone. Emily Adams, you're just someone who let herself go / looked worn out now. No one helps you with the child, so you had to quit your job and stay home with the kid. You don't bother to take care of yourself day after day. How could David Smith not get tired of seeing your face like that every day? After saying that, she winked at David Smith, standing next to her. David Smith, tell me, do you like this old woman, or do you like me more? Olivia Campbell was charming and had the appeal of novelty. And lately, David Smith and Emily Adams had been arguing constantly, already creating distance between them. Now that he was caught red-handed, he showed no trace of guilt and spoke directly. Emily Adams, what's there to fuss about? Why aren't you home taking care of the child like you're supposed to, running around outside? What man hasn't had an affair / cheated? Not to mention anyone else, just look at your dad. Didn't he abandon your mother and get with another woman back then? And didn't you forgive your dad anyway and even call that woman mom? If you could accept it back then, why can't you accept it now? Hearing David Smith's words, her eyes widened instantly, and she shook her head repeatedly. David Smith? David Smith? How could you say that? How could you say that? She seemed to be on the verge of breaking down and reached out to hit David Smith. David Smith pushed her away directly, shielding Olivia Campbell in his arms, looking down at her like she was a clown. Emily Adams, I'm not going to hide anything from you anymore. Do you think your dad likes you that much? If it weren't for me working hard and buying this house, would he have bothered trying to reconnect with you, his daughter, again? He just wanted to get some money out of you to save up for Ethan and Olivia. And you foolishly went along with it. Are you that desperate for love? But I guess you did do something good. Olivia is understanding and knows how to please. She's much more fun than you. Let's get a divorce. I don't want the child, she's yours. We'll split the money 50-50. Just leave quickly. Since you can accept your mother's current situation, I figure you won't have the nerve to keep bothering me, right? Word after word, each sentence was a stab at Emily Adams's heart. She became increasingly hysterical and sobbed uncontrollably. Olivia Campbell still maintained her calm demeanor, even reaching up to brush her hair back, then bending down to look at Lily Smith standing in front of her. Little sweetie, don't you think your mommy is emotionally unstable, making such a big fuss over something so small? Hearing Olivia Campbell's words, Emily Adams's eyes widened instantly. Get lost. You are not allowed to do anything to my daughter. She reached out and yanked Lily Smith towards her. A child's arm is so delicate, and she used too much force. Lily Smith immediately burst into tears. Crying and hitting Emily Adams with her hand, she wailed, "You're a bad mommy. I don't want you. Lily Smith, I'm your mother. I gave birth to you and raised you. How can you talk like that?" Emily Adams looked heartbroken, raising her hand to hit the child. Lily Smith directly bit her wrist. The pain made her flinch, and she immediately buried her head in Olivia Campbell's arms, then turned and glared at Emily Adams. "You bad mommy, you're always yelling at me. I like Auntie Olivia, I want her to be my mommy." Hearing this, Emily Adams's eyes widened instantly. She seemed about to say something, but then her gaze suddenly met mine in the crowd. In that moment, her expression was complex, full of mockery. Perhaps at that moment, she finally realized, the very words she had once said to me had come full circle and hit her right between the eyes. After watching this adultery scene / busted for cheating unfold all day, Carol sent me dozens of 60-second voice messages. They were mostly about the things I had seen today. Ever since their home burned down and the three of them moved into Robert Adams's place, there had been some distance between the couple, leading to constant arguments. With me gone, someone had to handle Lily Smith's school commutes, so Emily Adams eventually quit her job to focus on being a stay-at-home mom. Olivia Campbell, meanwhile, had taken a liking to David Smith's ability to earn money. Over time, coupled with deliberate seduction, the two of them got together. Robert Adams and Victoria Campbell knew about it and even helped cover it up. Even Lily Smith had stumbled upon them a few times, and a lollipop was enough to make her keep quiet. In short, the whole mess culminated With everything exposed, Emily Adams was driven out of the home by that whole family. Even her, cherished her as my darling Lily Smith cried and fussed, saying she didn't want to go with her and ran into Olivia Campbell's arms, calling her mom. As I walked back to the neighborhood, I saw Emily Adams right at the entrance. She was squatting in a corner. When she saw me, she looked like a pathetic little kitten no one wanted. She reached out and tugged at my skirt, pleading pitifully, "Mommy, I was wrong. Will you forgive me?" I looked at her, this daughter who, in a way, was closest to me. If it were before, my heart would have ached unbearably. I would have grabbed a knife and stormed into Robert Adams's home, risking my own life to get revenge for my daughter. But everything that had happened before had made me realize that perhaps her current situation was her retribution. So watching her tears fall, I honestly felt nothing at all now. It was like a stranger shedding a couple of cheap tears, trying to make me forgive her this way, and then naturally move back into my home to continue. Never had to lift a finger around the house, waiting for me. Cherished her as my darling. But, why would I? She might have been my darling once, but not anymore. So I shook her hand off. My heart felt nothing. I said calmly, "You're mistaken. I'm not your mother. I did have a daughter in this life, but she died in my heart a long time ago. As for you, go back where you came from and don't show up again, or I won't hesitate to call security, understand?" After saying that, I ignored her hysterical crying and walked straight back home. Emily Adams came looking for me a few more times. I didn't see her, and I had already decided I didn't want this daughter. She probably sensed my resolve. Later, she didn't appear again. And I continued to take walks every day, go to the pottery studio, or go to the mall to buy a few pretty dresses. Life, I need to enjoy it properly now. Emily Adams had suffered trauma as a child and had some mental issues. I stayed by her side day after day back then, which helped her become lively and cheerful again. Now, she was abandoned by everyone. Even the daughter, who cherished her as my darling, didn't want her. Using the excuse that she was willing to leave the home, she gathered the whole family together, saying they should have one last reunion dinner. After they ate, she would go to another city by herself and never come back. And that meal was cooked by her own hands. And the ambulance appeared that night. Emily Adams bought a lot of rat poison, weed killer, and other poisons available on the market. She mixed them and put them in the food. Then, while everyone was affected by the poison, she closed the doors and windows tightly and turned on the natural gas. By the time they were discovered, everyone was foaming at the mouth, lying unconscious on the floor. With everything mixed, even if they hadn't eaten much, it was discovered too late. That entire family didn't survive until the next day. Even 6-year-old Lily Smith lost her life because of it. This news even went viral online nationwide. People dug up their past, knowing that Robert Adams was a complete jerk, knowing Victoria Campbell had slept her way to the top, knowing that Ethan Campbell was a slacker, fond of fighting and harassing girls, was utterly disgusting, knowing Olivia Campbell liked stealing boyfriends, just like her mother, knowing that David Smith was also a jerk, despised by everyone, knowing Lily Smith, even at her young age, had a coldness in her bones that was equally frightening, knowing Emily Adams, blind in both eyes and heart, ultimately reaped what she sowed. People across the country knew this group was utterly disgusting and wanted to spit on them. As for me, I briefly went viral online too. I went with it and started a live stream, making pottery online. There were many viewers. Some people felt I had suffered too much and received many donations/tips. I donated all the money from the live stream to help more people in need. As for me, from then on, I had no attachments, felt light and free, and lived as I pleased.